Here's the list of chords. With 6 in total, 2 of them are dominant, 2 are diminished, and 2 are half diminished. At a glance, these chords might seem like they're unrelated to each other. But the fact is, each has one thing in common, a tritone, and therefore, all 6 are tritone equivalent chords. Why is this useful to know? Let's discuss. The term tritone simply means 3 steps. Tri meaning 3, and tone, where tone refers to whole step. If you're a musician, you likely know the most popular tuning system in Western music is made of 12 half steps, where 2 half steps equal 1 whole step. Since the tritone is 3 whole steps, this means it's equal to 6 half steps, which is half of 12. In other words, the tritone is the only symmetrical interval in our system other than the octave. This fact gives the tritone a unique property. Unlike other intervals, the tritone will always be 6 half steps apart, regardless of its inversion, and it will also maintain the same tonal quality. To see this in action, I'll build a tritone, in this case on F. Note that the distance in half steps between these notes is 6. To invert this, I take the lowest pitch and move it up 1 octave, while keeping the B in the same spot. Even though the notes are in a different order, the distance in half steps, as well as its tonal quality, remains the same. Doing this for any other interval will yield a different result. To demonstrate this, let's build a major second on F and invert it using the same process. In this example, a major second is 2 half steps apart, but when inverted, it becomes a minor seventh, which is 10 half steps apart. Another way to visualize tritone symmetry is by looking at these tritones moving chromatically through the span of an octave. This example shows a cycle of tritone pairs repeating every 6 half steps, or half the octave. Because of this apparent symmetry, one tritone can appear in multiple chords and scales and therefore be used in many different contexts. Of course, appearing in different contexts is not what makes tritones uniquely useful when it comes to harmony. After all types of intervals can appear in all types of different chords and scales. For example, C major and C minor both contain the same fifth, which is between C and G. So why does it matter if multiple chords or scales share a tritone? It's because the tritone is not at all like the fifth, or any other interval for that matter. A fifth is a stable and resolute interval that does not contain the same harmonic pool as a tritone. The phrase harmonic pool is really important here because one single tritone can pool a harmonic progression into multiple different directions. If we look at how tritones typically resolve, we'll notice that they have a tendency to resolve inward either to a major third or minor third. Or outward to a minor sixth or major sixth. To summarize, the usefulness of this interval does not come from its symmetry alone, it comes from both its symmetry and harmonic pool. This brings us to the meat and potatoes of this video, tritone substitution. Fundamentally, tritone substitution occurs in the context of a chord progression and involves the interchangeable use of tritone equivalent chords. Let's think of it this way. A chord progression is like a particular route to a destination. The destination is the last chord in that progression and indicates a moment of finality or resolution. We call this a cadence. Tritone substitutions are essentially optional detours we can take to arrive at the same destination. Inversely, because of the symmetry and harmonic pool of the tritone, we can use the same route to arrive at a variety of destinations. Alright, so let's take a closer look at the chords at the start of the video and study how they're related. This set of chords is a family of tritone equivalent chords because they all contain the E to B flat tritone. We'll call this the E B flat tritone family. We have 2 dominant equivalents, 2 diminished equivalents, and 2 half diminished equivalents. But where exactly do these chords come from? Well, let's start by looking at the set of dominant equivalents. C7 is the 5 of F major, so it comes from the F major scale. F♯7 is the 5 of B major, so it comes from the B major scale. C7 and F♯7 share a tritone, E to B flat, so this means that the F major scale and the B major scale share the E B flat tritone. The implications of this are rather far-reaching, but to summarize, F major and B major share the same tritone that appears in all 6 of these chords. Therefore, all of these chords will appear in some form of the following scales: F major, F harmonic minor, F melodic minor. B major, B harmonic minor, and B melodic minor. Note that there are essentially two very broad categories of scales here. Scales built on F and scales built on B. And by the way, it's no coincidence that the root of these scales are a tritone apart. Finally, let's break it all down. Again, our first group is the dominant equivalent group, C7 and F sharp 7. C7 diatonically resolves to F major and F minor. And naturally appears in the F major and minor scales. F sharp 7 diatonically resolves to B major and minor. And naturally appears in the B major and minor scales. Because they're tritone equivalents, both C7 and F sharp 7 can resolve to F major, F minor, B major, and B minor. Our second group is the diminished equivalent group, E diminished 7 and A sharp diminished 7. E diminished 7 diatonically resolves to F minor and naturally appears in the F harmonic minor scale. A sharp diminished 7 diatonically resolves to B minor and naturally appears in the B harmonic minor scale. Because they're tritone equivalents, both E diminished 7 and A sharp diminished 7 can resolve to F major, F minor, B major, and B minor. Lastly, we have our third group, the half-diminished equivalent group. The function of the half-diminished chord is not as cut and dry as the other groups, but for the sake of this video, let's assign them to a dominant function, meaning they act the same as our previous groups. E half-diminished 7 diatonically resolves to F major, and naturally appears in the F major and F melodic minor scales. A sharp half-diminished 7 diatonically resolves to B major, and naturally appears in the B major and B melodic minor scales. Again, they're tritone equivalents, so both chords can resolve to F major, F minor, B major, and B minor. With this in mind, we have 6 chords in the E, B flat tritone family. Each can be used interchangeably to resolve to 4 other chords, all of which appear in some form of an F or B scale. With all that said, the interchangeable use of these tritone equivalent chords in this family can go a bit further if we include deceptive cadences. As a review, a deceptive cadence occurs anytime a dominant function chord resolves to a chord that is not the tonic. The most common example of this is a 5-6 cadence in a major key. In F major, this would be C7 resolving to D minor. In F minor, a deceptive cadence usually involves 5 resolving to 6 or 3. This could be C7 going to D flat major, or C7 going to A flat major. We can determine other viable options by looking for deceptive cadences in our B major/minor keys. Remember, most of our scales that are built on F and B will share a tritone. Since our first 3 deceptive cadences come from scales built on F, the other 3 will come from scales built on B. Following the same formula from our previous examples, we get 3 potential choices: F sharp 7 resolving to G sharp minor, F sharp 7 resolving to G major, and F sharp 7 resolving to D major. In total, that gives us 6 potential deceptive cadences, 3 of them coming from scales built on F, and 3 of them coming from scales built on B, where each of the dominant sevenths that I just listed for those possible choices can be swapped for any other chord that belongs to the same tritone family. So, as a final summary, C7, E diminished 7, E half diminished 7, F sharp 7, A sharp diminished 7, and A sharp half diminished 7 belong to an E B flat tritone family. Because the tritone has a symmetrical harmonic pool, each chord can be treated as if it points to the same destination. And inversely, one chord can be treated as if it points to multiple destinations. To determine these potential destinations, we looked at the parent scales of each chord, and we noticed that 3 chords came from some form of a scale built on F, and 3 came from some form of a scale built on B, meaning that the parent scale of each chord also contained the same tritone. The parent scales for this tritone family also provide us with a list of chords that the tritone family itself can resolve to. In one group, we have our tonic chords: F major, F minor, B major, and B minor. In the other group, we have our deceptive cadences, which are D minor, D flat major, and A flat major. G sharp minor, G major, and D major. All in all, we have 6 chords that can each reasonably resolve to 10 other chords, because in one way or another they're connected by a tritone. Of course, you don't need to think about harmony in this way, but studying the relationship between these chords has allowed me to think about harmony in a way that I had not previously. It's a lot to memorize for something that you're not even sure you'll use in your writing process. So I took a little bit of time to put together a PDF that you could check out. That way you could at least explore the concepts yourself without having to memorize all this stuff. Thank you for watching, and if you've learned something new, please consider subscribing.